Rowan Pierce had always found solace in the solitude of the Olympic National Forest. As a ranger stationed at one of the most remote outposts in Washington state, she preferred the company of towering evergreens and wildlife to the chaos of city life. The crisp autumn morning started like any other, with Rowan checking trail conditions and tracking recent bear activity in the area. The meteoric flash that streaked across the dawn sky changed everything. At first, Rowan assumed it was just another piece of space debris burning up in the atmosphere. But when the object changed direction mid-descent, her heart began to race. Whatever this was, it wasn't natural. The object disappeared behind a ridge 2 miles north of her position, followed by the dull thud of impact that sent birds scattering into the air. Rowan hesitated only briefly before grabbing her emergency pack and heading toward the crash site. If anyone was hurt, they would need help, though she never imagined just how strange this rescue would become. The trek through dense forest took nearly an hour. As Rowan approached the impact zone, she noticed an odd shimmer in the air, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But this was different, more like looking through warped glass. She pulled out her satellite phone to call it in, but found only static. The shimmer dissipated as she drew closer, revealing what lay beyond. Rowan's breath caught in her throat. Half buried in the earth was a sleek vessel unlike anything she'd ever seen. Its organic curves and iridescent surface reminded her of an abalone shell, but the material was clearly metallic. A long gash ran along one side, edges still glowing faintly orange from atmospheric entry. "Hello?" Rowan called out, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. "Is anyone hurt?" "I'm a park ranger, I'm here to help." A faint sound drew her attention to the rear of the craft. As she circled carefully around, she found what appeared to be a hatch, partially open and badly damaged. Another sound, definitely a groan of pain this time. Rowan switched on her flashlight and peered inside. The beam revealed a humanoid figure slumped against the far wall. But as the light played across them, Rowan realized this was no human survivor. The being's skin had a subtle purple undertone, decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like oil on water. Silver-white hair fell in elaborate braids around a face that was almost human, but not quite, the angles too sharp, the eyes too large. Those eyes opened suddenly, revealing iris patterns that swirled like galaxies. The alien tried to move but gasped in pain, clutching their side where a nasty wound leaked phosphorescent blue fluid. Despite their obvious injuries, they maintained a warrior's bearing, watching Rowan with equal parts wariness and curiosity. "I won't hurt you," Rowan said softly, holding up her empty hands. "I'm here to help, if you'll let me." The alien studied her for a long moment before speaking in a melodic language Rowan didn't understand. Then they seemed to concentrate, and a small device at their throat pulsed with light. "Your words. I understand them now," they said, their voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "I am Nixus, third sentinel of the Stellar Concordat. My ship was damaged in battle. I cannot." They winced, the wound clearly causing significant pain. "Save your strength," Rowan interrupted gently. "I'm Rowan. I have medical supplies in my pack, though I'm not sure how effective they'll be for your physiology. Will you let me try to help?" Nixus's eyes flickered to Rowan's pack, then back to her face. "Why would you assist an unknown being who fell from your sky?" "Because you're hurt, and helping is the right thing to do," Rowan answered simply. "Though I admit, this is a first for me. I usually just patch up lost hikers and injured wildlife." A ghost of a smile touched Nixus's lips. "Your honesty is refreshing." "Very well, Rowan of Earth. I accept your aid." Rowan worked carefully, cleaning the wound with antiseptic wipes and applying pressure bandages. The glowing blue blood concerned her, she had no way of knowing if Nixus was losing too much, or what other internal injuries might be present. But the alien warrior remained conscious and alert, which she took as a good sign. "The ones who did this to your ship," Rowan ventured as she worked, will they come looking for you? Nyxus's expression darkened. The Dominion does not easily abandon its prey. But my vessel's final maneuvers and the damage to their ships should buy us some time. They paused, studying Rowan intently. You should know, helping me may put you at risk when they arrive. When, not if? Rowan asked, securing the last bandage. They are persistent. Rowan sat back on her heels, considering the situation. Her whole world had changed in the space of a morning. But looking at Nyxus, wounded but unbowed, a refugee from battles beyond Earth's atmosphere, she knew she couldn't simply walk away. Then we better get you somewhere safer than this crash site, she said firmly. My cabin is about 3 miles from here. It's not much, but it's well hidden and stocked with supplies. Can you walk? Nyxus pushed themselves up carefully, testing their strength. With assistance, yes. You are either very brave or very foolish, Rowan of Earth. Probably both, Rowan admitted with a slight smile. And just Rowan is fine. Come on, we should move before it gets dark. You can tell me more about this Dominion we need to worry about, and I'll fill you in on Earth's defenses. Though I warn you, we're still working on getting past our own moon regularly. As they began their slow journey through the forest, Rowan found herself stealing glances at her alien companion. Despite their injuries, Nyxus moved with fluid grace, taking in their surroundings with tactical awareness that spoke of extensive military training. Yet there was something else in their manner, a weight of responsibility and purpose that went beyond simple survival. The morning solitude had been shattered, but in its place, Rowan sensed the beginning of something extraordinary. As the autumn sunlight filtered through the canopy above, she couldn't shake the feeling that this chance encounter would ripple far beyond her quiet corner of the Olympic forest. The journey to Rowan's cabin took twice as long as usual, with frequent stops to let Nyxus rest. By the time they arrived, the alien warrior's luminescent blood had seeped through the makeshift bandages, and their breathing had grown labored. Rowan's cabin, a sturdy 2-room structure nestled among ancient cedars, looked like salvation. It's not exactly a medical bay, Rowan said, helping Nyxus onto her bed, but it's warm and dry. And more importantly, it's off any official maps. Nyxus sank into the mattress, their galaxy-swirled eyes taking in the rustic interior. Your dwelling reflects you, Rowan. Simple, yet purposeful. They winced, pressing a hand to their side. Though I fear my presence compromises its peace. Rowan busied herself gathering supplies, her advanced first aid kit, clean towels, bottled water, and the herbs she'd learned to use from a local indigenous healer. Peace is overrated sometimes. Now, let me get a better look at that wound. As she carefully removed the soaked bandages, Rowan's concern deepened. The gash was unlike anything she'd seen before, the edges seemed to shimmer with an internal light, and the tissue around it had taken on a darker purple hue. Energy weapon, Nyxus explained, noting her expression. The Dominion's rifles create wounds that resist natural healing. In our medical facilities, we use specialized radiation to counteract the effect. Well, we'll have to work with what we have, Rowan replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Can you tell me more about your physiology? What should I be watching for? Over the next hour, Nyxus explained the basics of their biology while Rowan cleaned and redressed the wound. She learned that the glowing blood contained bioluminescent compounds that helped fight infection, and that Nyxus's people had remarkable regenerative abilities when properly supported. The patterns on your skin, Rowan observed as she worked, they're beautiful. But they seem to move differently now than when I first found you. They reflect our life energy, Nyxus said softly. The slower movement indicates my weakened state. Among my people, it is considered intimate to allow another to read one's patterns so closely. Rowan felt heat rise to her cheeks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No apology needed, Nyxus interrupted with a gentle smile. You have earned the right to such intimacy through your care. Tell me, why do you choose to live alone in these woods? Rowan finished securing the fresh bandage before answering. I suppose I got tired of trying to fit into spaces that felt too small. Out here, watching over the forest and its creatures, I found purpose. Though I never expected that purpose to include harboring an alien warrior. The universe has strange ways of expanding our definitions of purpose, Nixis mused. They shifted, trying to find a more comfortable position, and their face tightened with pain. Rowan reached for her collection of herbs. Here, let me make you some tea. It's not advanced alien medicine, but these plants have powerful healing properties. As she prepared the tea, Nixis told her more about the conflict that had brought them to Earth. The Dominion, it seemed, was an expansionist empire that consumed worlds and cultures in its relentless march across the galaxy. The Stellar Concordat had stood against them for generations, protecting less advanced civilizations from exploitation. I was carrying crucial intelligence, Nixis explained, accepting the steaming mug with careful hands. Information about a new weapon the Dominion is developing. If I cannot deliver it to the Concordat. They trailed off, the implications clear. We'll find a way, Rowan assured them, though she had no idea how to deliver a message to an alien civilization she hadn't known existed that morning. For now, focus on healing. Days passed in a strange but comfortable routine. Rowan ventured out regularly to check the crash site and maintain her ranger duties, always watchful for signs of pursuit. In between, she tended to Nixis, whose condition slowly improved thanks to their natural regeneration and Rowan's careful nursing. They spent long hours in conversation, sharing stories of their vastly different lives. Nixis spoke of distant worlds with purple skies and floating cities, of battles among the stars and the delicate politics of interstellar civilizations. In return, Rowan described Earth's complex ecosystems, its diverse cultures, and humanity's first tentative steps into space. Your species is young, Nixis observed one evening as they sat by the fireplace, but there is something remarkable in your potential. You face your limitations with such determination. Is that a diplomatic way of saying we're primitive? Rowan asked with a smile. Not at all. There is wisdom in your connection to this forest, in the way you understand its rhythms. Many advanced civilizations have lost such fundamental bonds with their worlds. Nixis's patterns swirled with increased vigor, indicating growing strength. The Dominion sees only resources to be exploited. They would strip this forest bare without a thought. Over my dead body, Rowan said firmly, surprising herself with the fierce protectiveness in her voice. Nixis reached out, their fingers brushing Rowan's arm. That is precisely why I grow increasingly grateful that I crashed in your forest, Rowan. You understand what we fight for. The touch sent a subtle warmth through Rowan's body, and she found herself acutely aware of how close they sat. There was something happening between them, something neither had expected but both could feel developing. A connection that transcended their different origins. But before either could speak further, a distant sound shattered the moment, the distinctive hum of advanced engines descending through the atmosphere. Nixis's patterns flared with alarm. They've found me. Rowan was already moving, grabbing the emergency packs she'd prepared for just this possibility. Then we better move. I know these woods better than anyone, if you can travel, I can keep us ahead of them. Rowan. Nixis caught her arm, their eyes intense. You could still walk away. Tell them you found nothing. Not a chance, Rowan replied without hesitation. We're in this together now. Besides, someone needs to protect this forest from exploitation, right? A complex emotion played across Nixis's alien features. Then they nodded, gathering their strength. Together, then. Lead the way, Ranger. As they slipped out into the darkness, Rowan felt no regret. In just a few days, her solitary life had expanded to include wonders and dangers she'd never imagined. But looking at Nixis moving steadily beside her, she knew she'd made the right choice. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The Olympic forest transformed at night, becoming a maze of shadows and whispered sounds. Rowan led them through hidden deer trails and forgotten logging paths, while overhead, the hum of Dominion search vessels grew steadily closer. Her years of ranger experience had never been put to such crucial use. "They're using thermal scanning," Nixis whispered as they crouched beneath a fallen cedar. Their patterns had dimmed to nearly invisible, an instinctive defense mechanism. "The forest canopy provides some interference, but they'll eventually adapt their sensors." Rowan nodded, mind racing through options. "There's an old mining complex about 2 miles north. The walls are lined with ore deposits that play havoc with equipment. It's dangerous, but it might blind their scanners." A branch snapped in the darkness behind them, too heavy to be wildlife. Nixis tensed, their hand moving to the small energy weapon they'd salvaged from their crash. "We're being tracked on foot as well." "They work fast," Rowan muttered, checking her compass. "This way. Stay low and step exactly where I step. There's a stream ahead we can use to mask our trail." They moved through the undergrowth like ghosts, Rowan's knowledge of every root and hollow guiding their path. The sound of flowing water grew stronger, but so did the signs of pursuit. Occasional flashes of light pierced the canopy as search vessels passed overhead. Reaching the stream, they waded carefully upstream, using the current to hide their direction. The cold water numbed Rowan's feet, but she noticed Nixis showing signs of strain. The warrior's recent injuries weren't fully healed, and this pace was taking its toll. "Just a little further," Rowan encouraged softly. "There's a hidden bank where we can." A blast of energy struck the water beside them, turning it instantly to steam. Both dropped into a crouch as more shots illuminated the darkness. Through the trees, Rowan caught glimpses of armored figures moving with military precision. "Down!" Nixis tackled Rowan as another shot passed through where she'd been standing. They rolled behind a boulder, Nixis's weapon humming to life. 3 attackers, standard Dominion combat formation. "They're driving us toward the others." "Not if I can help it," Rowan pulled a small flare from her pack. "Cover your eyes." She hurled the flare high into the branches above their pursuers. The magnesium flame ignited, filling the forest with harsh white light. Screams of surprise echoed as the Dominion soldiers' light-enhanced vision was overwhelmed. "Impressive," Nixis remarked, taking advantage of the confusion to fire several precise shots. "You understand tactical warfare better than you let on. Park Ranger, remember? We train for forest fires and rescue operations. Now run." They sprinted through the underbrush, no longer concerned with stealth. Behind them, angry shouts and the crash of armored troops pushing through vegetation spurred them faster. Rowan's lungs burned as she led them up a steep incline, loose rocks sliding under their feet. "The mine entrance is just ahead," she gasped. "But you should know, there's a reason it was abandoned. The tunnels aren't stable." "Better unstable ground than certain capture," Nixis replied grimly. "The Dominion doesn't take prisoners for questioning. They extract information directly from the brain, leaving nothing behind." The mental image made Rowan's skin crawl. They crested the ridge and found the mine entrance, a dark maw in the mountainside partially hidden by decades of growth. Without hesitation, they plunged into the darkness. Rowan clicked on her flashlight, revealing tunnel walls that glistened with strange mineral deposits. Their footsteps echoed ominously, and the air grew thick with the musty scent of abandonment and decay. "The main shaft branches ahead," she explained quietly. "We can use the side tunnels too." A deep rumble cut her off. The beam of her flashlight revealed dust and small rocks falling from the ceiling. "They're using sonic pulses," Nixis said urgently. "Trying to collapse the tunnel." Another blast shook the mine. Larger rocks began to fall as the tunnel's ancient supports groaned in protest. Rowan grabbed Nixis's arm and pulled them into a side passage just as the main tunnel collapsed behind them. For several long moments, they huddled together in the darkness, choking on dust and listening to the last rocks settle. When Rowan's flashlight revealed their situation, her heart sank. The collapse had sealed them in. Well, she coughed, trying to sound optimistic, at least they can't follow us now. No, Nixus agreed, their patterns glowing brighter to provide additional light. But they don't need to. They'll simply wait by any potential exits. We've traded one trap for another. Rowan swept the flashlight beam around the tunnel. Maybe not. These mines were part of a larger complex. Some of the deeper tunnels connected to natural cave systems. If we can find one, we might escape undetected. Nixus's patterns swirled with renewed hope. You continue to surprise me, Rowan. Most would panic in this situation. Oh, I'm definitely panicking, Rowan admitted with a slight laugh. I'm just really good at multitasking. Come on, we should keep moving. The air's better deeper in, which means there must be other openings. They made their way carefully through the twisting passages, alert for signs of instability. The mineral deposits in the walls created beautiful, otherworldly patterns when illuminated by the combination of Rowan's flashlight and Nixus's bioluminescence. Your injury, Rowan noted with concern, seeing how Nixus held their side. The running made it worse, didn't it? It will heal, Nixus replied stoically. We have more pressing concerns. Even if we find an exit, the Dominion ships will be watching the entire area. We need a plan. Rowan was about to respond when her flashlight beam caught something unusual on the tunnel wall, markings that didn't match the rest of the mine's infrastructure. She moved closer, excitement building. These are survey markers, but they're newer than the mine's operational period. And look, they're using the International Cave System notation. These tunnels have been mapped. By your people. Recently. Within the last decade, probably. Cavers, explorers who map underground systems. And if they surveyed this section? Rowan traced the markings with her finger. There must be a way out they could access. One that might not be obvious from above. A distant rumble echoed through the tunnels, reminding them of the danger still in pursuit. But as they studied the markings together, a plan began to form. Perhaps being trapped underground wasn't a defeat after all, but an opportunity. Your forest continues to provide sanctuary, Nixus observed softly. As does its guardian. Rowan felt warmth rise in her cheeks, visible even in the dim light. Let's focus on surviving first. Then you can compliment my forest all you want. Together, they began following the survey markers deeper into the earth, hoping they led to salvation. Above them, the Dominion forces maintained their watch, unaware that their prey was about to attempt something desperately bold. The deeper they ventured into the cave system, the more the air changed, becoming rich with the scent of underground streams and mineral deposits. Rowan and Nixus moved carefully through the darkness, following the survey markers that promised escape. Their world had narrowed to the beam of Rowan's flashlight and the gentle glow of Nixus's bioluminescent patterns. Tell me about your home world, Rowan asked softly as they rested near an underground pool, its surface black as obsidian. What made you choose to become a warrior? Nixus's patterns shifted, reflecting memories both fond and painful. Lysaria is a world of crystal forests and floating cities. The atmosphere refracts our binary suns into endless ribbons of color. They paused, trailing fingers through the cold water. I became a warrior because I saw those colors dimming. The Dominion's advance consumed world after world, turning vibrant civilizations into resource extraction centers. You're fighting for more than just territory, Rowan observed. We fight for the right of worlds to choose their own path. The Dominion believes that unified control under their rule brings efficiency, progress. They see diversity as chaos that must be ordered. Nixus's voice hardened. They cannot comprehend that the chaos of freedom creates its own harmony. A distant rumble echoed through the caves, reminding them of their pursuers above. Rowan checked her map again, comparing it to the survey markers. We should be nearing the connection to the main cave system. If I'm reading these markers correctly, there's a hidden exit that leads to a narrow valley. And if you're reading them incorrectly, then we'll have a very educational experience exploring more caves, Rowan replied with a wry smile. At least we're in good company. Nixis studied her thoughtfully, their galaxy-swirled eyes reflecting the flashlight's beam. You face uncertainty with remarkable calm. Many would have turned me over to the Dominion by now, choosing safety over principle. That's not who I am. Rowan stood, offering her hand to help Nixis up. My parents taught me that standing up for what's right isn't a choice, it's an obligation. Besides, I've grown rather fond of having an alien warrior as a hiking companion. Their hands remained clasped a moment longer than necessary, both aware of the growing connection between them. It was more than just shared danger or forced proximity. Something deeper had taken root in the days since Nixis's crash. They continued through the twisting passages, their path taking them deeper into the mountain. The cave formations grew more spectacular, delicate crystalline structures that caught and amplified both their light sources, creating miniature light shows on the wet walls. Your world holds such beauty, even in its darkest places, Nixis marveled, their patterns rippling with appreciation. The Dominion would see these caves as nothing more than mineral deposits to be mined. Then they're fools, Rowan said firmly. Beauty and resources aren't mutually exclusive. My job as a ranger is to help people experience these wonders while ensuring they're preserved for future generations. Balance, Nixis nodded. Something the Concordat strives for as well. Each world we protect maintains its own culture, its own path. We provide guidance and defense, not control. They rounded a bend and found themselves in a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness above. Massive columns of stone stretched from floor to roof, shaped by millennia of patient water drops. Their light seemed small and insignificant in the immense space. It's like a cathedral, Rowan whispered, her voice filled with awe. On Laceria, we have temples carved from living crystal that sing when the wind passes through them, Nixis said softly. But this was created by time and nature alone. Perhaps that makes it more sacred. They crossed the chamber carefully, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. At the far side, Rowan found what they'd been searching for, survey markers indicating the passage to the surface. But as she studied them, her expression grew concerned. The exit is through a vertical shaft. It'll be a tight squeeze, and we'll need to climb. She looked at Nixis's still healing injury. Are you up for it? I've endured worse, Nixis assured her, though their patterns betrayed discomfort. What concerns me more is what awaits us above. The Dominion will have scanning posts established around the mountain. Rowan's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. Unless they're looking in the wrong place entirely. She pulled out her satellite phone, which had been useless underground. The Rangers maintain several emergency supply caches in the forest. If we can reach one, we might be able to create a diversion. You have a plan? More of a crazy idea. But sometimes those are the best kind. Rowan grinned. How do you feel about giving the Dominion a lesson in Earth's wilderness survival techniques? Nixis's patterns swirled with amusement and growing excitement. I think I'm beginning to understand why your species has survived despite its technological limitations. You are unpredictable. I'll take that as a compliment. Rowan began preparing their climbing gear. We humans have a saying, the best technology is sometimes no technology at all. As they prepared for the final phase of their escape, both felt the weight of what lay ahead. But there was also a sense of rightness, of pieces falling into place. They had each found something unexpected in these dark caves, not just an ally, but someone who understood their deepest convictions. Rowan, Nixis said quietly as they approached the vertical shaft. Whatever happens above, I want you to know, meeting you has changed how I see not just Earth, but the entire purpose of our fight. You've shown me that what we protect is more precious than I realized. Rowan felt her heart skip at the intensity in Nixus's voice. "We're not done yet," she replied softly. "Let's get through this first. Then we can talk about changing galaxies." They began their ascent toward uncertainty, danger, and hope. The Dominion waited above, but they would face it together, a ranger and a warrior, bound by shared principles and growing feelings that transcended the vast distances between their worlds. Dawn approached as Rowan and Nixus emerged from the vertical shaft into a narrow ravine. The first hints of light painted the sky in soft purples and blues, reminding Nixus of their distant home. Above them, the quiet hum of Dominion search vessels continued their methodical patrol. "The emergency cache is half a mile east," Rowan whispered, securing their climbing gear. "If we're lucky, the morning fog will give us cover." As if nature itself conspired to aid them, tendrils of mist began creeping through the valley, shrouding the forest in gray silence. They moved carefully through the undergrowth, Rowan's ranger skills and Nixus's warrior training combining to make them nearly invisible. The cache, when they reached it, proved to be a sturdy metal container hidden beneath a false rock formation. Rowan's hands moved quickly as she sorted through the supplies, pulling out emergency flares, smoke signals, and other survival gear. "Your plan," Nixus said softly, "keeping watch, it's more than just a diversion, isn't it?" Rowan nodded, continuing to work. "The Dominion thinks in terms of technology and military might. But this forest? It's a living thing. Complex. Interconnected. Sometimes the best way to fight isn't with force, but with understanding." She pulled out a map, pointing to various locations. "These ridges create unique wind patterns. The morning fog follows predictable paths. And most importantly, it's fire season. The forest is dry, waiting for a spark." "You would burn your beloved forest?" Nixus asked, their patterns swirling with concern. "Not burn, suggest the possibility of fire. The smoke signals will react with the fog, creating the illusion of multiple fires breaking out. According to protocol, all aircraft must clear the area due to visibility and safety concerns." Understanding dawned in Nixus's galaxy-swirled eyes. "Forcing the Dominion ships to retreat or risk violation of local planetary safety regulations. Clever. But their ground forces will be too busy assisting local authorities with evacuation procedures to notice us slipping away." Rowan grinned. "Sometimes the best way to hide is in plain sight." They set their plan in motion as the sun rose higher. Carefully placed smoke signals created the impression of multiple fire outbreaks, while emergency beacons activated automated distress protocols. The forest itself seemed to cooperate, the morning winds carrying the smoke in perfect patterns to suggest a growing crisis. From their hidden vantage point, they watched as confusion spread among the Dominion forces. Ships rose higher, their sensors confused by the combination of smoke and fog. Ground teams began receiving urgent communications from their commanders. "It's working," Nixus breathed, their patterns bright with excitement. "But we still need to get off planet. The Dominion will realize the deception eventually." "About that," Rowan said, her expression turning serious. "Before we left the cabin, I sent a message. An old frequency I found in your ship's wreckage. I wasn't sure it would work, but..." A new sound joined the morning chorus, the distinctive hum of approaching spacecraft, but different from the Dominion vessels. Through breaks in the smoke-filled sky, sleek ships bearing the emblem of the stellar Concordat descended rapidly. "Reinforcements," Nixus whispered, joy and disbelief mingling in their voice. "You managed to contact the Concordat?" "Like I said, wasn't sure it would work. But I figured with the Dominion jamming normal frequencies, an old emergency channel might slip through." The forest erupted into chaos as Concordat ships engaged the surprised Dominion forces. The battle was brief but decisive. The Dominion, caught off guard and hampered by the environmental conditions, was forced to retreat. As the smoke began to clear, Rowan and Nixus emerged from their hiding place. A small Concordat shuttle landed nearby, and a team of warriors emerged, their patterns marking them as Nixus's people. They approached with obvious relief and respect. "Commander," the lead warrior addressed Nixus, "we feared you were lost. The intelligence you carry is safe," Nixus assured them. "Thanks to this human." They turned to Rowan, their expression soft with emotion. "She protected not just me, but the principles we fight for." The Concordat warriors regarded Rowan with newfound interest and respect. "Then we owe you a great debt," their leader said. "Few would risk themselves for a stranger, let alone stand against the Dominion." "About that," Rowan said, straightening her ranger uniform. "I've been thinking. Your Concordat protects developing worlds from exploitation, right? Helps them choose their own path." "That is our purpose," Nixus confirmed, a hint of anticipation in their voice. "Well, Earth could use some friends out there. Not to fight our battles for us, but to help us understand what we're getting into. And maybe," she glanced at Nixus, "maybe I could help. A ranger's perspective on protecting worlds and their natural balance." Nixus's patterns erupted in joyous swirls of color. "You would join us? If you'll have me. Someone needs to teach the galaxy about Earth's wilderness management techniques." She smiled. "Besides, I've grown rather attached to a certain alien warrior." "The Concordat would be honored," the lead warrior said formally, but with clear approval. "Your actions here have proven your worth." As the sun rose fully above the mountains, Rowan took one last look at her beloved forest. She wasn't leaving it behind, not really. Instead, she was expanding her range, becoming a guardian of not just one wilderness, but many. "Ready?" Nixus asked softly, holding out their hand. Rowan took it, feeling the warm pulse of their patterns against her skin. "Ready. Though we should probably stop by my cabin first. I need to file some paperwork, rangers can't just disappear without proper notice." Nixus laughed, a sound like crystal wind chimes. "Ever the responsible guardian. It's one of the many reasons I've grown to love you." Together they boarded the shuttle, their fingers still intertwined. As they rose above the forest, Rowan watched the landscape unfold below, the woods, the mountains, the hidden caves that had sheltered them. She had always known her path would be unique, but she never imagined it would lead to the stars. The morning sun caught Nixus's patterns, sending rainbow reflections dancing across the shuttle's interior. In that light, Rowan saw not just her future, but hope for both their peoples. Sometimes the greatest adventures began with a simple choice to help someone in need. Sometimes love truly did transcend the boundaries of worlds. And sometimes, in the vast wilderness of space, a forest ranger and an alien warrior could forge a path that would change galaxies.